Imagine checking into a hotel where every hallway was designed to confuse you. Every room hid a secret. Every door could become a trap. And somewhere behind the walls, a man was waiting for you to disappear. This wasn't a horror movie. It wasn't a nightmare. It actually happened. And the man behind it was H.H. Holmes. When we ended part 1, Holmes had already become a respected businessman in Chicago, but behind his friendly smile, he was building something the world had never seen before. A building that history would remember by one terrifying name, the Murder Castle. Building the Murder Castle, construction continued for months, then years. Neighbors watched workers arrive, and then suddenly disappear. Holmes constantly fired contractors before they could finish their work. Then he hired new ones. No single worker ever saw the entire blueprint. No one understood why. Some built walls, others installed strange pipes. Some created hidden staircases. Others sealed rooms that seemed to serve no purpose. Holmes paid everyone separately, asked few questions, and never explained anything. From the outside, the building looked like an ordinary 3-story hotel. Inside, it was something else entirely. Rooms connected to nowhere. Doors opened into blank walls, hallways twisted in impossible directions. Some staircases ended abruptly, others led to hidden chambers. Guests could easily become lost, and that was exactly how Holmes wanted it. The hidden rooms. The second floor contained dozens of guest rooms, but not all of them were meant for sleeping. Some rooms were completely soundproof. Some had steel doors that locked from the outside. Others had tiny holes hidden inside the walls. Historians believe Holmes used those openings to secretly watch his victims. Several rooms were connected to gas lines. According to investigators, Holmes could release gas directly into a locked bedroom. His victims would panic, scream, scratch at the walls, but no one outside could hear them. When everything became silent, Holmes would unlock the door and calmly walk inside. No struggle, no witnesses, no evidence. Holmes could release gas directly into a locked bedroom. His victims would panic, scream, scratch at the walls, but no one outside could hear them. When everything became silent, Holmes would unlock the door and calmly walk inside. No struggle, no witnesses, no evidence. The basement was the only place guests were never meant to see. It wasn't built for storage. It wasn't built for maintenance. It was built for one purpose: to erase evidence. Investigators later discovered surgical tables, large vats filled with acid, quicklime, and a massive furnace. According to historical records, Holmes used acid to dissolve flesh, quicklime to speed decomposition, and fire to destroy whatever remained. But destroying bodies wasn't always the final step. Holmes had found another way to make money. He carefully cleaned skeletons, removed every trace of tissue, then sold them to medical schools. The same institutions that had once trained him were now unknowingly buying the remains of his victims. To Holmes, murder wasn't only about killing, it was a business. Every victim had value. Every death created another opportunity. Money, insurance, property, even the human body itself. Everything could be turned into profit. And while families searched desperately for missing loved ones, Holmes continued smiling at customers, welcoming new guests, and preparing rooms for the next victim. No one realized that beneath their feet, one of the darkest crime scenes in American history was growing. In 1893, Chicago welcomed the world. The World's Columbian Exposition attracted more than 27 million visitors. People arrived from every corner of the globe. Families, young couples, business travelers, tourists searching for adventure. Hotels across the city quickly filled to capacity. Holmes knew this moment was coming, and he was ready. His hotel had empty rooms, affordable prices, and a friendly owner everyone seemed to trust. For exhausted travelers, it looked like the perfect place to stay. Many checked in, expecting to leave a few days later. Some never did. The city was crowded. People came and went every hour. If a visitor disappeared, friends often assumed they had simply returned home. Police rarely connected one missing person to another. and Holmes understood that better than anyone. The World's Fair gave him exactly what he needed. An endless stream of strangers, people with no relatives nearby, no one expecting them home immediately, victims who could vanish without anyone asking questions for weeks or even months. Behind the doors of the murder castle, Holmes believed he had created the perfect killing machine. But every perfect crime eventually leaves behind a mistake, and Holmes was about to make his biggest one yet. For years, Holmes believed he was untouchable. Every lie had worked, every victim had disappeared, every business fraud had gone unnoticed. But greed has a way of destroying even the smartest criminals. Instead of stopping, Holmes wanted more money, more victims, more scams. He borrowed money from banks. He refused to pay suppliers. He tricked business partners. He signed contracts under fake names. Soon, people weren't just talking about a successful doctor. They were talking about a man who always seemed to owe someone money. Creditors began looking for him. Former business partners demanded answers. Insurance companies started asking difficult questions. Holmes had spent years escaping suspicion. Now he was attracting it. To stay ahead, he packed his bags and left Chicago. But he didn't leave alone. With him was a trusted employee, Benjamin Peitzel. Holmes promised him one final insurance scam. A simple plan: fake a death, collect the insurance money, then disappear forever. It sounded perfect. But what Benjamin didn't know was that H.H. Holmes never needed partners. He only needed victims. The betrayal Benjamin Peitzel trusted Holmes. They had worked together for years. Holmes convinced him the insurance company would never suspect a thing. The plan sounded simple: a fake identity, a staged accident, a body that couldn't be recognized. Then they would collect the money and split the fortune. But Holmes had never planned to share anything. According to investigators, instead of using a cadaver as they had discussed, Holmes killed Benjamin himself. His body was later discovered in a house in Philadelphia. At first, the death looked like an accident, exactly as Holmes had intended. But one detail immediately caught investigators' attention. The body showed signs that Benjamin had died before the fire had even started. This wasn't an accident, it was murder. Even worse, Holmes had already convinced Benjamin's wife to trust him. He promised to take care of the family's children until everything settled down. She believed him. She had no reason not to. After all, Holmes appeared calm, respectable, helpful, the perfect gentleman. But as he traveled across the country with 3 innocent children, no one realized they were in the hands of one of the most dangerous serial killers in American history. And for those children, the nightmare was only beginning. While Holmes continued moving from city to city, one man refused to stop following him. His name was Frank Geyer, a Philadelphia detective, patient, methodical, and determined to find the missing children. Unlike everyone else, Geyer didn't believe Holmes' stories. Every city Holmes visited, Geyer followed. Every hotel, every rental house, every train ticket became another clue. The investigation stretched across hundreds of miles. Weeks turned into months. Then, the first horrifying discovery was made. Inside the cellar of a rented house, investigators found the remains of 2 young girls. They were Alice and Nellie Peitzel. The news shocked the nation, but one child was still missing: Howard Peitzel. Geyer refused to give up. He retraced Holmes' journey once again, knocking on doors, interviewing strangers, following the smallest details. Finally, behind another rented house, he uncovered a shallow grave. Inside lay the body of young Howard. At that moment, the investigation changed forever. This was no longer an insurance fraud case. It was proof that H.H. Holmes had murdered innocent children. And for the first time, the monster behind the charming smile had nowhere left to hide. Holmes was finally under arrest. At first, police believed they had captured nothing more than a clever con artist. But detectives soon returned to Chicago to search the strange building everyone had forgotten. The moment they stepped inside, they realized this was unlike anything they had ever seen. Hidden doors, secret passages, rooms with no windows, steel vaults, soundproof chambers, hallways leading nowhere. The deeper they searched, the darker the discoveries became. In the basement, they found surgical instruments, human bones, a furnace large enough to burn bodies, acid containers, and evidence that someone had gone to extraordinary lengths to erase every trace of murder. Newspapers exploded with headlines. Reporters called it the murder castle. People across America could hardly believe the photographs. The charming doctor they had trusted had built one of the most infamous crime scenes in history. But one mystery remained: how many people had actually died inside those walls? Holmes loved attention. He gave interview after interview. Sometimes he admitted to murders. Sometimes he denied everything. In one confession, he claimed to have killed 27 people. In another, he changed his story completely. To this day, historians still debate the number of his victims. Some believe it was fewer than 10. Others believe dozens disappeared because of him. And some sensational reports claim the number exceeded 200. The truth may never be known. As the evidence mounted, Holmes could no longer escape. He was brought to trial. The courtroom was packed every single day. Reporters from across the country filled every seat. Everyone wanted to see the man behind the murder castle. But Holmes remained strangely calm. He smiled, he joked, and even during the trial, he acted as though he were the smartest person in the room. The jury wasn't convinced. After reviewing the evidence, they found him guilty of the murder of Benjamin Pitezel. On May 7, 1896, H.H. Holmes was led to the gallows. Witnesses expected fear, panic, or regret. Instead, Holmes walked with remarkable composure. His final words offered no real apology to the victims. No explanation, only another attempt to control the story. Moments later, the trapdoor opened, and the life of one of America's most infamous serial killers came to an end. But his legend did not. Even today, historians continue to investigate his crimes. Books are still written about him. Documentaries continue to explore his life, and visitors to Chicago still search for the place where the murder castle once stood. Because H.H. Holmes left behind more than a list of victims. He left behind a mystery, a reminder that sometimes the most terrifying monsters don't hide in the shadows. They smile, they earn your trust, and they look exactly like everyone else.